Hi everyone, it's Daniel here. Today I'll be ranking each Genesis member, so yeah, something different today. Well, I say each member, but I won't be counting any members that toured with them. For example, Bill Bruford, Chester Thompson and Daryl Sturmer. They're all great, but never played on any studio recordings. So these are going to be only going to be the studio members of Genesis. So yeah, Genesis. What was there to say about the band? They started in 1967 and then released an album in 1969 and then made albums for at least like another 30 years. Lots of personnel changes in between and yeah, just awesome band. So without further ado, let's begin. So there's 11 band members. So yeah, let's begin. So my number 11 spot is going to be Mick Barnard, who was in the band from 1970 to 1971, just before Steve Hackett would join. Unfortunately, he didn't play on any of the recordings. The band said he was an okay guitarist, but they wanted someone more exciting, so they brought in Steve Hackett instead. And unfortunately, Mick Barnard is pretty much unknown. Like, there's like one photo of him that exists, of him playing with the band. And yeah, I would have loved to have heard his guitar playing on at least like one track or two, that sort of thing. But yeah, since I haven't listened to, since he didn't record anything with the band, and I haven't heard any of his recordings because, no, I've not even heard that live performance where that photo was taken. So unfortunately I have to put him at number 11 due to the fact he was only in the band for a very short while. But yeah, it is what it is. So my number 10 now is going to be their first drummer, Chris Stewart, who played on one track on their first album, The Silent Sun. And yeah, he's pretty good drummer, I think. Silent Sun, I can't actually remember the song that well, but I know he was the drummer for Tony and Peter's band before their band and Mike and Anthony's band kind of merged together to form Genesis, or from Genesis to Revelation. So yeah, he only played on one track, he's quite unknown as well, so unfortunately yeah, not much is known about him. But he played on one track, The Silent Sun, which is a decent track, I think. From Genesis to Revelation, I don't come back to the album that much. So yeah, Chris Stewart's at number 10. Alright, so my number 9 is going to be their next drummer who replaced Chris Stewart, and that is John Silver. Yeah, pretty good drummer, I like him. He only played on the first album, played on the rest of the tracks. All the tracks except for The Silent Sun. Yeah, his drumming is pretty good. If you tell him to drum for you, then he'll do it, that sort of thing. Quite nice, flows well with the 60s production, and like the other two, he quit music and he quit music, but like the other two, he's quite fairly unknown, so not a lot of people know about these Genesis members that came before Phil Collins, Steve Hackett, and of course Mike and Tony and Peter, they're like the 5 most well-known members. And yeah, they did pretty good jobs, and yeah, Genesis had quite a few drummers, session drummers. They had a couple on Calling All Stations. And speaking of Calling All Stations, my number 8 is going to be their singer who replaced Phil Collins on their last studio album from 1997, and that is Ray Wilson. So yeah, really good singer. I like him. A lot of people, they say he sounds nothing like Peter or Phil. I don't really care because, his singing suits the style of the music that Genesis were aiming for. Sort of a prog sound, sort of like their early stuff mixed with 90s art rock. Congo is a great song, and I think Ray Wilson is very unappreciated. So I think he's a great singer. And yeah, what was the band using? I can't remember. Silk Skin or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think he's a pretty cool singer. A lot younger than Mike and Tony, but not a bad choice. I would have preferred Paul Carrick. I think he would have been a great addition to Genesis, but he was already in Mike and the Mechanics, so like, yeah. I think if Cornwall Stations didn't have the Genesis name, it would have been it would have been a well more received album critically, you know. So, yeah. So Ray Wilson gets a thumbs up in my books. Just, yeah, his voice, I don't have a problem with it, and yeah. Like I said, Congo's great, Cornwall Stations, great title track, and a few of the songs, you know, I think he sings pretty well. So yeah. My number 7 is going to be the third drummer from who played on their second album, Trespass. So yeah, I'm talking about John Mayhew. So yeah, he only played on one album, Trespass, basically 6 tracks. I love doing that with my hands, you know, how many fingers I'm holding up, that sort of thing. Yeah, but anyway, John Mayhew, I think he's a decent drummer. He's no Phil Collins, but like his drumming's really good. Like on the Knife, especially as well. Quite like his drumming on that song. And yeah, I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great, but he's decent. He was good. Fortunately, he's the only Genesis member who's sadly no longer with us. So yeah, he's passed away now. So rest in peace, John. The great legendary John Mayhew, who played the drums on Trespass and the band's third drummer. I know. So they had Chris Stewart, then John Silver, and then John Mayhew. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he did a pretty good job, and yeah, Trespass is a pretty good album in my opinion. But yeah, they'll get better, and plus, like, 2 new members would join, and yeah, they would change Genesis for life. But anyhow, my number 6 is going to be their first guitarist and pretty much the leader of the band, and that is Anthony Phillips. I think he's a really good guitarist in my opinion. He even played the keyboards on Mike Rutherford's debut solo album, Small Creeps Day. I really like his guitar playing, you know. I mean, Genesis had 3 guitarists. I know Tony Banks even played guitars, well, mostly acoustic 12-string guitars. So with Mike Rutherford, who would later become the main guitarist for the band, and then we had Anthony Phillips, and then we would have some other bloke joining us later on. I'll talk about him soon, but yeah. Anthony Phillips, I love his playing on the Knife, very heavy guitar tone, love it. The Knife is a fantastic Genesis track. The live version with, you know, the 2 new members would be even better, and yeah. So, yeah, I think Anthony Phillips was a great member. Unfortunately, he had really bad stage fright, so he left the band. Exactly 34 years before I was born, on the 18th of July 1970, I know. And he was only 18, so like I'm older than he was when he left Genesis. It's quite interesting listening to Genesis when they were younger, because, you know, I'm 20 now, so like when the band started they were around 15, 16, I know, that's what? I know. So yeah, and now we're going to get into the top 5. And yeah, I think you know who's coming. At number 5, I am going to pick Peter Gabriel. Yeah, some people probably pick him as the best member of the band, but in my opinion, he was fantastic. Like all the weird costumes, you know, the fox mask with his wife's dress, absolutely legendary. You know, dressing up as a flower with loads of strange makeup, having an old man mask as well. Dressing up as a disease, and it's just Peter was creative. I love him, and I think his solo career might be just a tad bit better than his career in Genesis, in my opinion, because you know he could expand on his sound more. He could write his own songs, and you know he has his own genre of music, which is pretty cool. And yeah, Peter Gabriel, legend. I love him, of course. He was only with the band for 6 albums, yeah. He came back briefly to do the 1999 version of Carpet Crawlers, which would probably be the last studio Genesis related thing they would do. Not as good as the original song, and yeah, I think he's a great singer, yeah, his solo career is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, thumbs up to you, Pete Gabriel, absolute legend. Watching Genesis live is just breathtaking anyway, so yeah, witchy eye. Anyways, my number 4 is going to be their second guitarist, Steve Hackett. So yeah, joined the band just before Nursery Crime was in production. Fantastic guitarist. He would stay with the band up until Wyndham Wuthering, so the band were pretty much a four-piece, you know, from A Trick of the Tail to Wyndham Wuthering, and he would leave the band after the Spot the Pigeon EP, do a solo career, and he's fantastic. Like, his playing on Nursery Crime, whoa, wild as heck, like, pew, like, that epic, I know. And he taps as well. Yeah, he got inspired from, I think it was Spanish flamenco guitarists. They did that on the acoustic guitar, and he later did that on the electric guitar. So Eddie Van Halen didn't invent guitar tapping. Neither did Steve Hackett. So many great guitar solos, you know. The Musical Box, Fountain of Salmacis, Fair for Fifth. Just loads of great guitar solos. His guitar playing on Blood on Rooftops is fantastic. Ripples, just, oh my goodness. Why did he leave the band? Like, he was fantastic. I think if he left the band sooner, they would have done an album called No Hackett Required, a pun on Phil's solo album, No Jacket Required. So yeah, absolutely fantastic guitarist, love him. I need to listen to his solo stuff, like, I am missing out on a lot. And now we're in the top three. So at number 3, I'm going to go with Mike Rutherford. He was the bass player of the band pretty much from the start to the finish, you know, from start to finish. And great bass player, honestly. Like, he's very melodic. He's just brilliant, and I think he's an essential musician to the music industry, in my opinion, especially with Genesis, Mike and the Mechanics, his solo album, Small Coops Day. I still yet to have listened. I can't talk today. I still have yet to listen to Acting Very Strange. That's what the album's called. Yeah, I bought that the other day, and yeah, looks like a really good album, and I'll let you know what my opinion on that album is. So yeah, after Steve Hackett left, he become the guitarist. Not as good, but I still think he was like, I still think he could play. Like, Behind the Lines has a great guitar solo. The guitar playing with Understanding's great. Abacab is fantastic. The guitar in that song. Dodo/Lurker. And just Mama, the guitar solo in that is absolutely, oh. And actually, Mama was Steve Hackett's favourite song from, like, after he left the band, so that's an accomplishment. I think Mike Rutherford is a very unappreciated guitarist. You know, he wasn't always the main guitarist, he was always the rhythm guitarist and mostly just a bass player. I love Mike and the Mechanics as well, so yeah, Mike Rutherford gets the number 3 spot. And his songwriting's really good as well. Like, come on. Alone Tonight, Like It or Not. I believe he wrote Man of Our Times as well, I could be wrong. But yeah, I love his guitar playing on other songs like Down and Out. Follow You, Follow Me, of course, with that iconic guitar tone, Thrown All Away. Another Record in the intro. Very cool. I love his guitar playing. And his bass playing on Silver Rainbow, my goodness. And other tracks like Return of the Giant Hogweed, like, he's just a crazy bass player. Looks like such a chill guy, but his bass lines were absolutely mental, especially on the first few Genesis albums. So yeah, Mike Rutherford gets the third place spots for me. So yeah, in second place, ooh, these two are quite tricky. So second place, I'm going to go with Phil Collins. Yep, their 4th drummer, and yeah, great drummer. Changed the band forever. He became not only the drummer, but also the backup vocalist as well, and the percussionist. And he played trumpet at some point, but I'd rather not talk about that. Yeah. So, played on Nursery Crime, Foxtrot, Selling England by the Pound, Lamb Lies Down Broadway, Peter Would Leave After the Lamb, which, you know, caused a massive impact on the band. Phil was actually suggesting them to become a instrumental band. And they did 1,000 auditions for lead vocalist for the band, but yeah. Yeah, not to their standards. So Phil just came up from behind the kit, started singing, he sung Squonk, and they were like, yep, found our singer. And that's when Chester came in to play drums, well, Bill Bruford first and then Chester Thompson to play drums whilst Phil would sing. So he wasn't multitasking that much. And yeah, and then, yeah, just Phil would take over as lead vocalist from Trick of the Tail to We Can't Dance, and yeah, and then he would leave the band, and of course he has a popular solo career, you know, Face Value, Hello Must Be Going, all great albums. Excuse me, No Jacket Required, and But Seriously, and a few other solo albums as well. He's fantastic. He was also in a band called Brand X, which I need to listen to. John Giblin was also in that, and Pete Robinson, which will later play on his solo career. He produced an album for Frida. He's done backup vocals for John Martin, and yeah, he's pretty much everywhere. Band Aid, Dinner Next Christmas, he played the drums on that. Live Aid, he was great as well, even though he only sung and played the piano. He's actually a really underrated keyboardist as well. He plays quite a few instruments, to be fair, and that's pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, Phil gets the thumbs up. I think he's a great singer. I don't have a problem with him. I know a lot of Genesis fans said, "Oh, he ruined Genesis." No, he didn't. Why are they mad at Peter? Like, he was the one who left and made made a massive impact on the band. Like, you know, made them feel like giving up or like feeling like they weren't going to be as successful. But then Phil came from behind the kit, and yeah, pretty much and then there were 3 onwards trio literally saved the band. Phil's vocals are great, especially from Duke onwards. He already sung lead vocals on a few tracks. For example, like even in the Peter Gabriel era, for example, for Absent Friends from Nursery Crime, Supper's Ready, he sung back up in that. Yeah, he sounds really like very Cockney in the earlier songs, and then More For Me, that's a beautiful song. I mean, come on. And the fact that it's just him and Steve Hackett, like, for Absent Friends is a great way to, you know, make the 2 new members of the band feel welcome. So yeah, and then yeah, he's sung lead vocals on some fantastic songs: Dance on a Volcano, Man Man Moon, Squonk, of course, Ripples, Afterglow, Blood on the Rooftops, Down and Out, Ballad of Big, just loads of songs. Man of Our Times probably has one of his best vocal works ever, Like It or Not. What other songs? Me and Sarah Jane, you know, that's quite a progressive song and doesn't stay in the same genre. So when he gets to the reggae section, he kind of sings sort of like Sting would. And yeah, just flipping great singer. I love him. Mama, his vocals are great as well. The way the way he screams, it's absolutely fantastic, and does that evil laugh. I just love Phil. I think he's a character. They let him in the band because he was that funny. He also has a really good acting career as well. I've watched Buster. If you've not watched that, then I highly recommend it. Based on a true story, the great train robbery from the 1960s, and yeah, Phil plays the lead character. And yeah, I've talked about Phil enough. He's clearly my favourite member, but my number 1 is going to go with Tony Banks, of course. Great keyboardist. I just love him. He's been in the band since the start. He was in Peter and Chris's band as well. He was the piano player. Peter wanted to play piano in the band, but instead Peter just let Tony do it because he did the better job. But yeah, I think Tony's a great keyboardist. Plays some really complicated like keyboard parts. He's always looking like focused and a bit stern with his keyboard, but he's a lovely guy really. And yeah, I mean, he doesn't want to mess up those parts, of course. I mean, The Land Lies Down Broadway, that piano intro, fantastic. Just great keyboardist. That clavinet on the Return, Giant Hogweed, brilliant. Keeping in time with the guitar. Just a great keyboardist. I flipping love Tony Banks. Curious Feelings, great album as well. I just think he's pretty much like the secret weapon of Genesis, in my opinion. Wrote some of the best songs, Me and Sarah Jane. Trying to think of other songs. Cul-de-sac, Heath A's. Trying to think of other songs. Ooh, what else did he write? You wrote most of the songs for Wind and Wuthering, so Wind and Wuthering's a great album, of course. Many Too Many. I'm trying to think of other songs. I think most of his keyboard riffs are great as well. You know, the Mellotron in Watch of the Sky is absolutely unsettling. I think he's such a clever guy. It's a shame he hasn't done anything like pop or rock themed since like Calling All Stations, you know. That'd be like the last like rock music themed project he would do, and now his stuff's like kind of orchestral and all that, which is a real shame. I think he should do like a pop album or something, you know, like Curious Feeling. I need to listen to his other albums, so I will definitely do that soon. So yeah, Tony Banks, my number 1 favourite member of Genesis. He was the guitarist as well. Also, he wrote Duchess, great song, love that song. The piano in that's so pretty at the start, and then you get the bass pedals, which were obviously played by Mike and occasionally Phil. I think he's a great keyboardist. You know, he comes up with some great sounds. You know, he's played loads of keyboards, from the mellotron, the piano, grand piano, electric piano, the clavinet, the Hammond organ, synclavier, Yamaha DX7, the Prophet 5, Prophet 10. I think he's fantastic. He was a character as well, just like Phil and Mike. You know, all three of them had a great sense of humour, especially behind the scenes, and that's why Tony Banks is my number one pick. So yeah, good on you, Tony. We love you. So yeah, and also he's my favourite keyboardist of all time. Like, if you want to argue with me on that, then you can. Feel free to. So yeah, that's my all my Genesis studio members ranked, all 11 of them, and yeah. Let's do a quick little recap. So number 1, obviously Tony Banks. Number 2, Phil Collins. Number 3, Mike Rutherford. Number 4, Number 4, Steve Hackett. Number 5, Peter Gabriel. I could probably swap them, but I don't know. I feel like Steve's presence in the band was like much better because he stayed up until Wind of Wuthering. Well, Spot the Pigeon EP actually. Number 6, Anthony Phillips. Number 7, John Mayhew. Number 8, Ray Wilson. Number 9, John Silver. Number 10, Chris Stewart. And number 11, Mick Barnard. Poor Mick, I know. Basically kicked out the band, replaced with Steve Hackett, who is a guitar legend. So yeah. But anyhow, thank you for watching, everyone. Let me know how you would rank the Genesis studio members from your least favourite to favourite. My list is a bit my list is very like accurate, so like from like the least relevant member to the most relevant, you know, that sort of thing. Who was in the band the least and who was in the band the most. That's just what I think. But anyhow, thanks once again, and as always, take it easy, and I shall see you all next time in a bit, and peace.